Oh, people are beginning to arrive. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you all. In you come. Please pop your name, if you're so inclined, into the chat. Tell us who you are. And as they say on all the best quiz shows, where you're from. I'm here today in London. My colleague Tracy in the West Midlands. Perhaps we'll give a shout out to the person who's nearest and the person who's logging in from furthest afield. Please do pop your names and where you're from into the chat. Let's see who we've got. Welcome. Welcome. It's nice to see these numbers creeping up. We're going to just wait a few moments to allow people to come in and get settled. Welcome. Welcome, Petra from Romania. Nice to have you here. Sahili from South London. I think I know you, Sahili. In fact, did I train you, Sahili? Yes. Alexandra, welcome. I don't know if we can give you Spain to win the prize, but whereabouts in England are you, Alexandra? Kat from Yorkshire, welcome. Judith Riverser, hello, Caroline and Tracy. Nice to see you, Judith. East Sussex, Iceland, excellent. So far, someone with a geography AS level or degree is going to have to tell us, is Iceland nearer or further than Romania? Bath Spa, hello, Charlie, nice to see you. In sunny Chepstow, is that true? I'm not sure. That's the southwest. Does the sun really shine in the southwest? Welcome, Lara. We're just going to give it a couple more moments and then we'll make a start. We've been advised to let people come in gently, settle in. Oh, that's lovely. So when it's beautiful in Wales, it's really beautiful. Theodora, nice to see you. But you're not in Romania or Bulgaria. You must be in London, maybe. Lancashire, great. Bonjour, Luc. Aha, our student teachers going far and wide. Dubai. Now we're really being tested, Tracy. Dubai, Romania, and Iceland. We'll have to get our atlases out and have a look. Lovely.
I'm going to guess Dubai is further.
Florence, it is very grey in London. Wales wins today by the looks of it. What's happening in the West Midlands?
I was just peering out. It's not very grey, but it's definitely not blue sky. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, but it's not raining. So
welcome, Khalida.
Lots of people from Lancashire.
And some from Yorkshire. We must not set one above the other.
Yeah.
Farnborough in Hampshire, welcome.
Oh, we should be in Yorkshire rather than London or the Midlands.
It looks as if then Yorkshire and Wales have got the hands down win today. Hello, Naima from Leeds. Bright and sunny. We're definitely in the wrong bit of the country, Tracy.
Absolutely.
Lovely. All right, we'll give it one more moment. Oh, Durham. So excellent representation from across the country. And I've noted Iceland, Romania, and Dubai so far. No, always happy to share the fine weather. We do quite well here in the southeast, so always happy to share that. Fabulous. All right, it's 10:33. Fabiana, welcome from Italy. Tracy is leading with the PowerPoint today after my laptop decided to have a moment. So hopefully we will be good to go. So let's start with introductions then. Thank you very much to all of you for introducing yourselves to us. My name's Caroline Conlon. As I've said, I'm here in London. I work at UCL Institute of Education. I led the PGCE for 5 years. I've worked on it for 14. So delighted to see some of our former trainees in the audience. but recently have moved across to this very exciting national project, which we were going to tell you more about. So it's a DFE funded project led by the National Consortium for Languages Education that's based at the IOE, UCL, and we're working with our consortium partners, the British Council and the Goethe Institute. More about that shortly. Tracy, over to you.
My name is Tracy Williams. I am the hub lead for one of the West Midlands language hubs. And later on in the presentation, I will be telling you all about our plans for supporting schools in the West Midlands.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so moving forward then, what's this all about? So essentially, linguists in this country know that the government has set itself very ambitious targets for GCSE uptake, and is working hard to find ways to try and re-energize languages and raise the profile of languages to persuade more of our learners to continue through to the age of 16. So languages then are not compulsory. You can finish your languages education, your second languages education at 14 and decide whether or not to continue through to 16. We could pause there and spend the rest of the hour exploring that. But we are where we are. We have a situation where learners can choose, and approximately 50% of our learners choose not to continue. So this is a problem that needs fixing. So Tracy, if we move on to the next one, thank you. What we said in our bid when we put ourselves forward this time last year to the DFE as a group of people who felt we could lead on this project is that we want to leverage the value of all our languages. So we are a multicultural, multilingual population, and this has got to be about more than French, German and Spanish. But of course, we could start by shining the spotlight on those in our schools, looking then from our classrooms outwards. Is the teaching in our classrooms high quality? Could we be doing things differently? Could we be shifting the focus? Could we be looking at alternative approaches to motivate our learners and engage them and persuade them that it really, really is a life-changing experience to learn a new language and to come to know a new culture? So we want more children feeling curious and inspired to continue at least through to GCSE. Of course, those of us who are passionate linguists would like to see them go on for longer. But this is also a moment to think about whether or not the resources are fairly shared. Are all pupils being given the same access, the same enrichment opportunities? And if not, could we, as part of this project, look at ways in which we can increase opportunities for those disadvantaged pupils? The British Council has a particular focus on at the moment at looking at performance of boys in languages. So that's one of the strands within the project. Although languages trends last year showed a slight uptick on those numbers. So let's hope that we can begin to push forward with that. And what's really exciting, I think for me, as someone who's lived and worked in London throughout their career, this idea of recognizing and supporting the rich diversity of languages that we have in this country. We currently have 24 GCSE languages available to schools into which they can enter students. So what we want to do is explore with our partners ways in which we might capitalise upon those opportunities, work more closely perhaps with our supplementary school colleagues to really begin to increase interest and entrance into those exams. So what underpins the way in which we want to work? We want to collaborate. This is not something we can do on our own. The languages community is fantastically rich with resource. It's just that our hard-pressed teachers don't always have time to explore what's out there. We really want to think about creativity. We want to nurture curiosity. So teacher creativity, pupil creativity, and teacher and pupil agency. Teachers feeling empowered to make choices because they know it works for them and they know it works for their learners. and collegiality, pulling together and working together, and respecting difference. I think both the Modern Foreign Language Pedagogy Review and the Ofsted Subject Review state quite clearly that there is no one way to do this. There are many approaches, and I think the trick is to come together to find out what's working, how we know why, and how we can share that more widely. So that's the mission, looking at where we're at today and hopefully making some changes to see if we can't transform things to encourage more learners to continue. Thank you, Tracy. I mentioned that we were working with partners. So one of the strands of the project is to look at how we move the downward trajectory of German uptake to become an upward trajectory. As many of you will know, German numbers for GCSE have shrunk back. Many schools have taken German off their mainstream curriculum. And this project is saying, can we actually look to see, not only can we slightly increase this, but can we really, really generate interest and provide support? So the Goethe Institute is running a Imagine project as part of the NCLE consortium project work. And there are various strands. They are doing lots of work to support teachers. There is lots going on for pupils and German learners. And for schools, I think this is really exciting. Not just projects and resources, but actually teaching services. So actually providing teachers to plug gaps and support where there is fragility. So if you want to hear more about that, please go along to their session this afternoon, 4:45 to 5:30, where they'll tell you more about how the project works and how you access the fantastic treasure trove of resources. Great, thank you very much. So pulling together then, not just with our consortium partners, the Goethe Institute, the British Council, but with all of the other partners who are out there working hard to raise the profile of languages at all different levels. So we're thinking about primary school, so you can see there research in primary languages. We're thinking about subject knowledge enhancement for teachers, so how our cultural partners can support that. We're working closely with the Association for Language Learning, the Oak Academy, talking to colleagues there about the different projects that they're working on, the British Academy, everybody, really everybody who has an interest in languages, we're trying to talk to try and pull things together and to try and ensure that there is a seamless journey for learners of languages and for teachers of languages, so they know where to go for help, support and resources. Thank you. So what is this Language Hub project? And that's the big mission. Working collaboratively and collegially is how we're going to do it. And this idea of hubs, now that will be familiar to lots of people. We've got teaching school hubs, maths hubs, computing hubs. So the word hubs is familiar to teachers who work in England. And what we have now is funding for up to 25 language hubs across the 9 government regions. So we're in phase 1 at the moment. We have 15 hubs, but this is really to just give you an indication of the interest that this has generated, and also to kind of see the national spread. So when we launched in April, we asked for expressions of interest. 120 people attended that webinar and put their expressions of interest through. Second stage applications in May, the number halved, we had 60. And then we had a really, really difficult job, because I think one of the things that's been really inspiring about this project is to see how much fantastic work is going on in languages across the country. I'm going to come to phase 2 application shortly. So Tracy, if you move us on. We then had to halve 60 to 30. We then conducted interviews through May and June to narrow it down to our 15 hubs across the country. Now, going forward, phase 2, we have a webinar on the 6th of December to look at applications for phase 2. We have already had 140 expressions of interest. People then will be invited along on the 6th of December to hear more about what this entails. Those of you who are interested are going to hear more from Tracy in just a moment. But as you look at that map, you can see that there are certain parts of the country where we're going to make a particular effort to try and plug those gaps. We need schools in Yorkshire and the Humber. We need schools in the east of England. We need schools in the southwest. If you go to the NCLE webpage, there's a frequently asked questions sheet there, which tells you how you can apply. The government has set the bar very high. Your school needs to have over 70% GCSE language entry currently to be nominated to lead. And they're looking at schools that have the French and Spanish on their curriculum, German where possible. So it's a pretty tough call, and Tracy can tell you a little bit more about the application process. So that's where we're at, 15. And what we've got in each of our 15 schools is at least 2 teachers who are off timetable for the equivalent of 1 full-time post. I can see some questions coming in.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions that have popped in. Just before we go into the details. So someone has asked, can we still express an interest to become a hub? And then there's a follow-up to that, the same person. Is it okay if the 90% uptake is only this year and going forward? I presume they mean 70% uptake, but that's the question, Carolyn.
Yes, so the 70% uptake, I think if you've got the 70% uptake, the hubs at the moment are secondary led. There may be potential for primary and secondary partnerships going forward. We're exploring that currently with the DFE. But as I say, we already have 140 applications in, or interest, expressions of interest in the mix. So we're talking now to the DFE about exactly what the requirements will be for the next 10. So potentially a primary and a secondary could apply as a pair. What was the other question? Over 70%.
Is it okay if it's
how long? Yes.
This year and then moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's worth putting an application in, and then each application will be looked at on an individual basis. We had this before. We had a couple of schools who were new. They didn't have 3 years worth of data. We had schools where there's obviously been the dip during the COVID interruptions. But I think if you are currently hitting the 70% and have a story to explain why that has only just happened, please do put in that expression of interest. If you go to the NCLE IOE holding page on the UCL website, you'll see details there for how to get in touch with us to find out more, and also the free FAQs question sheet. Right, I'm keeping an eye on time. Let's move on. Right, so what we've got then in each school is 2 specialists, Tracy, one of those, who are working with us this term to reinforce their own subject knowledge, expertise, and to prepare to make the transition from being a great teacher to becoming a great teacher educator as they begin to work with their hubs. So each lead school is currently finalising their 5 to 7 partners, and they are identifying schools where people need help and where there is a degree of stability. So the injection of help is reinforcing a team who are there moving forward. I can see lots of things popping up on my screen, trying not to get distracted. So what we've said to our teachers is, as we explore each theme, we're thinking about people's progression through that theme. Are you at a point where your expertise is emerging? Are you at a point where your expertise in, for example, assessment for learning is already deeply embedded? Are you moving through to that deepening, the mastering? So we have a sense of supporting our teachers to really begin to feel very, very confident in different aspects of teaching and learning. They're working with us this term. We will then prepare teaching packs for them to take forward into their hubs. They will support us with that. This is very much a done with, not a done to. And what's been really fantastic is to come to get to know our specialist teachers and to learn about the different experience and expertise that's out there. So what we're doing then is we're looking to work with our teachers who will then work with their schools, and all of this will feed into a universal CPD offer that will exist via a microsite or a website going forward. You can imagine how busy our weeks are. All of this is happening concurrently, and different parts of it are kind of landing and being finalized as we go. Right, so that's essentially how the system works. And what's really exciting is it's a school-led initiative supported by the university. So it's a system-led change working together. Tracy, if you want to just move us on through these different modules, so looking at specialist teacher modules, universal modules, thinking about what works, going back to principled practice. So this is not about the IOE telling people how to teach. We're not building schemes of work and lesson plans. What we're doing is we're going back to think about teaching and learning principles, thinking about second language acquisition, and all of those things that people had the chance to think about in depth during their training, but perhaps haven't had time to come back to for a while. So moving on then, what's informing all of this? Well, second language acquisition theory is informing all of this. What do we know about how people learn languages? Learning theory, what do we know about classrooms where people really genuinely learn? And also thinking about principles that were embedded in the Languages Pedagogy Review, which was published in 2016. So those of you who haven't had a look at that for a while, again, go to the NCLE webpage, and there's a link to it there. The first key recommendation of the review is that whatever their level of achievement, the vast majority of young people should study a language. And I think for all of us, that's what we passionately believe. And so the next question is, how do we make that happen? And you can see, looking down the list, that we are exploring each of those themes as we go. So shall we pause there?
Yes, I am busily typing the answer to one question, but I can't type fast enough. The question is, Caroline, you mentioned a member of staff being off timetable for the equivalent of 1 day a week. Does the Language Hub funding cover this?
Yes. So what's really interesting, I've said that this is a system-led model, is that the government has put just over £14 million into this project, but much of that is being devolved to schools. So Tracy can share the kind of actual figure, but it's approximately, I think, £200,000 a year coming into the hub, 60,000 a term coming into the hub, which covers the staffing. That's the main resource. That's what we want. We want expert teachers coming off timetable to work with other teachers to really, really embed best practice and to explore with them what works. It's only for state-funded schools at the moment. Obviously, if there's a local independent school on the patch working nearby, hubs will be interested to talk to you and see what resource there is to share there. Questions? Any more questions?
That's all of the questions that are in the chat at the moment. If anyone wants to put some other questions either into the chat or into the question and answer box, please do so.
Great. So as we've worked our way through the modules then with our specialist teachers, we are looking at all of the different elements involved in this work. We're thinking very much about languages pedagogy. It sits at the heart of what we're talking about, but we also are thinking about leadership and educative mentoring, thinking about how professionals support one another to get better. And I personally think that it's the thing we could as a profession be making lots more space for. It's really, really exciting when another colleague comes in, isn't there to judge, but is there to work with you, to help you ask questions and to ask you questions to find some answers. So this is our wonderful colleague, Professor Caroline Daly from UCL IOE, who was working at our launch conference to talk to teachers there about becoming educative mentoring and how peer-to-peer mentoring can work. It's a slightly different relationship to the ones where you're working with someone who's completely new. You're working with people who themselves already have a degree of experience and expertise. So there we are. So we've recruited, we've launched, we've had our conference, we meet every Tuesday. I hope that Tracy can tell you more, that she feels that we're building a subject community. What's been really nice is to see not only how the subject specialists, how the specialist teachers work with us, but how they work with one another and how strategic behaviours within regions are already beginning, and also links across regions. Sort of people in the northeast talking to people on the south coast about something that was mentioned in a meeting because it's an idea they'd like to pursue. And that's really what we're all about: shared understandings, collaboration and collegiality. Tracy, let me hand to you. Otherwise, I will just still be here talking in an hour.
Thank you so much, Caroline. There are a couple more questions or possibly just comments, and hopefully both of these things that have been raised will come through in the information that I'm about to give. I think what's really important to sort of say at this point, the work that the language hubs will be doing with their partner schools is based on needs identified in those partner schools. So for example, if a partner school identified that they'd really like some help looking at teacher use of target language, but particularly student use of target language, and how they can increase the amount of communication that's happening in their classrooms, that would be something that the specialist teachers within the language hub would then work with that school. If a school asks for some support with the implementation of the new GCSE, for example, so they're the 2 points that have been raised, again, that is something that the specialist teacher in the language hub would then be able to support. And if I might just go back one slide, 2 slides, you can see on the screen now all of the different universal CPD modules which will be made available to the specialist teachers in the language hubs to then share with the schools across their regions. So there are lots of things there, all of the things that you would expect the NCLE to be developing CPD on are all listed on that list there. Please do keep putting your questions into the chat. Caroline's now going to take over the chat for me, if that's okay.
Yes, yes. So can I perhaps ask people to use the Q&A function? And the other thing that we didn't mention is you're very welcome to send us very positive and reinforcing reactions. Because
we did have one thumbs up that came.
We had a thumbs up.
Yeah,
so
like
yes,
Caroline,
I always feel we're going to talk, aren't we, about rewards? But yes, it's always nice to know that when you're talking to people you can't see, that they're appreciating. So thumbs up and hearts, very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for
and the Q&A would be great. So over then to Tracy, who is working, oh lovely, thank you everybody, working with one of our 3 hubs, isn't it, in the West Midlands, to tell us more about what it means to be leading a system-led project. Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks, Caroline. So as Caroline's already said, my name is Tracy Williams and I am one of the specialist teachers from the newly named Trent and Tame Language Hub. Now, the Trent and Tame Language Hub is a collaboration between the Arthur Terry School, based in North Birmingham, and Paisley Catholic College in Stoke. Both Arthur Terry and Paisley are also designated as teaching school hubs. So the Trent and Tame Language Hub is a collaboration between all of those different partners. Collectively, we are one of 3 hubs in the West Midlands, and we are going to be working with schools in Birmingham, Stoke and Staffordshire. Just in case you are wondering, our name, the Trent and Tame Language Hub, comes from the 2 rivers that run respectively through the centre of Birmingham and obviously through the centre of Stoke. In this short presentation, my part of the presentation, I'm going to take you through what we are hoping to do as a language hub in the West Midlands. And if you've got specific questions about what that might look like or how it's going to work, please do put them into the chat. So, when we were writing our application to become a language hub, we identified 3 core pillars from which we plan to build our hub. And we believe these pillars are going to support us to be successful. The first one is quality, the next one is collaboration, and the third one is sustainability. And as I said, in this short presentation today, I'm going to explain what these 3 pillars hopefully will look like as we launch our hub properly in January. Within quality, we've identified 3 things: quality in our schools, so the schools designated as the language hub, quality within the team of specialist teachers, and also quality languages education. So if we start with quality within our schools, so at Arthur Terry and also at Paisley, both of our schools are recognised as having excellent language provision by other schools in our region. Details about both of our schools can be seen on the screen. And this reputation has been built over time through extensive school-to-school support, also through the relationships that we have developed through the Arthur Terry Skit with schools across Birmingham, and also through relationships that we've developed through our roles as teaching school hubs in our teaching school hub areas. Both of our schools are also heavily involved with our feeder schools and supporting schools in our areas to develop their Key Stage 2 provision. In terms of our team, Claire and I, so the 2 specialist teachers within the Trent and Tame Language Hub, are obviously really passionate about languages and about developing and retaining language teachers. We both have significant teaching experience, but we also have significant leadership experience, and you can see that summarised on the screen. Alongside that, both of us have quite significant experience of delivering national projects at scale, and we are already finding that this experience is really supporting us to get our language hub off the ground quickly and successfully, ready to start working with our partner schools in January. The third part of quality is quality language teaching. And we are really excited to explore what quality language teaching looks like in the schools in Birmingham, Stoke and Staffordshire. We want to focus on ensuring that language teachers understand what high quality language teaching and high quality language learning looks like. We want to explore the evidence base and the research with them. We want to explore what their experience tells them and tells us. And we also want to look at what works in theory and also what works in practice. It's important as well to consider what works in different settings and different contexts. And across our region in Birmingham and in Staffordshire and in Stoke, we have a huge number of different contexts and different cohorts within our schools. We want to explore what else might work by developing a culture where action research is valued and is undertaken by teachers on a regular basis. And Claire and I are really excited about identifying people in our partner schools who might be willing to take on action research projects and then supporting them with this. And we also want to make sure that all of our schools across Birmingham, Stoke and Staffordshire really consider the place of every single language within their school and think carefully about how they can promote the benefits of engaging in language study. Now, that might be engaging in French or Spanish or German, but it also should be about engaging with all of the other languages that are prevalent in their schools. So what do we mean by quality language teaching? Well, at this point, it's really important to acknowledge and to build on what Caroline said earlier. There isn't one single way to teach languages, and I am not going to be going into any of my partner schools and saying this is what you need to do. Different things work in different contexts, but what we do think is really crucial is that all teachers have an understanding of the component parts which support learners in classrooms to know more and to remember more. So we're excited to explore how teachers identify the right content to teach in their lessons. We're excited how they think about identifying and addressing likely misconceptions before they happen in the classroom. We want to explore what practice looks like, whether teachers genuinely have inputs before outputs, how they support their learners to move from structured production to independent production, and also how they encourage their learners to transfer that language into unfamiliar situations. Alongside that, obviously, there needs to be retrieval, and obviously there needs to be both formative assessment, thinking about live marking, thinking about immediate verbal feedback, thinking about stopping and reteaching when teachers identify that the learners in their classroom haven't understood a concept. And we also are excited about exploring summative assessment and really delving into whether summative assessment that's taking place in schools actually assesses the content that has been taught by the children in the classrooms. Alongside this, and this picks up on one of the points that was in the chat before, there are 3 elements that we really want to focus on across our hub area of Birmingham, Stoke and Staffordshire, and I'm sure the other language hubs have got these on their agendas as well. They're areas which seem to sometimes fall by the wayside in terms of schemes of work and programmes of study. The first one is around intrinsic motivation and making sure that leaders in schools think about how they can develop that intrinsic motivation from the very start of the language learning journey. If we don't do this, learners and students will never be able to take genuine ownership of their learning. The second thing that we really want to explore is how we can embed cultural capital in a purposeful and meaningful way, so that it really supports children in our classrooms to be curious about other countries, cultures and ways of life. And both Claire and I really passionately feel it needs to be built into the fabric of school rather than bolted on to curriculum models. And the final point, and this again fits with one of the points that came up in the chat, we really, really passionately believe in oracy. And in some of the classrooms that I certainly go into in my role as trust lead and also in my role as a SCIT subject pedagogy lead, I think speaking is becoming a forgotten skill in lots of classrooms. We strongly believe it needs to be the cornerstone of what happens in all language lessons. Teacher use of target language, but particularly student use of target language, falls within this, and we're really excited to explore this with our partner schools. So that's quality. Our second pillar is all around collaboration. To have a high quality language education, teachers cannot work in silos, and both Arthur Terry and Paisley have extensive networks within which they already work, and you can see those outlined on the screen now. These networks put us in a really strong starting position to be able to build and launch our language hub. We are excited about building on these relationships, but also building relationships with our partner schools. And we this week are in the process of interviewing the many, many schools who have put forward expressions of interest to work with us. Over the course of the project, we really hope that our partner schools will become advocates for the language hub, and that leaders within those schools will be able to become members of our languages strategic board so that they can contribute to the wider remit of the hub, and we can see a multiplier effect so that we're able to support more schools. We're also really excited about working with our consortium partners, so the Goethe Institute, the British Council, and also with the Association for Language Learning. And we hope to use the existing relationships that you can see on the screen so that we can act as advocates for these organisations, really making sure that everyone in our region knows about the great work that they do day in, day out, and making sure that that can get to a greater audience of schools, to language teachers, and also to language learners. Part of our collaboration plans are around the development of networks. And you can see on the screen now the series of networks that we are hoping to create to be able to ensure that our messages about quality language teaching can spread as far as possible. We know that a programme which involves CPD and a programme which just involves CPD will not lead to progress. And so it's really important that there's a blended CPD model which goes alongside coaching, goes along support, and also a creation of peer-to-peer support networks. And if we're able to do that, we are hopeful that the work that we will be doing will have a much longer term sustainable impact. So you can see all of the different types of networks that we're hoping to create. Obviously, on the 1st of January, we won't have created all of these, but over time, we are really excited to bring language teachers across Birmingham, Stoke and Staffordshire together to be able to collaborate. The final part of our plan is around sustainability. It's really, really important that the work that we do is sustainable and it goes beyond the life span of the Language Hub programme. And we see this under two lenses. So the first lens is around building capacity. At the Trenton Tame Language Hub, Claire and I really believe in developing homegrown talent. And this is both in our own settings, so at Arthur Terry and at Paisley, but also in our partner schools and in our affiliate schools. And we think this is the way that we can develop a sustainable model of retained language teachers staying in the classroom, doing what they love. You can see on the screen some of the things that we're hoping to do to support with this, but that concept of multiplying and developing other teachers and leaders through shadowing is a really key component there. The final part of our sustainability plan comes from building a passion for languages, and that passion for languages needs to start at the very, very first point of coming into school. So from EYFS, and it needs to go through everything in school up to senior leaders in schools. We know that the students in our language classrooms are the future linguists of tomorrow. And so we want to find ways to talent spot students and also to develop their passion for language learning. And so in time, we're hoping to launch some Year 9 and some Year 11 student conferences so that we can really encourage people to think about languages being a very viable option at GCSE, option at A-level. Lots of people that I talk to just talk about everyone just wants to do STEM subjects, and we want to create that buzz that now has STEM subjects now has. We want them to have that buzz about languages. So you can see the other types of things that we plan to do to support with creating this passion for language learning on the screen. I hope you found this very short presentation useful. There's lots and lots of plans afoot. As I said, not all of them will be in place on the 1st of January. But if you do have any questions about anything that I've said or any of the nitty gritty about what it looks like or how it might work, please do pop a question into the chat now. And thank you for all the hearts and claps. And there were even some streamers that popped up on my screen as I was talking.
I think that was the mention of the word curiosity. Thank you so much, Tracy. And what's, I think, just so amazing is how everything you've presented here fits so much with that central vision, but came from school to us. It certainly has not been from us top down, but that collaboration, creativity and collegiality, I think for our specialist teachers, I mean, such creative ideas for how to really, really raise the profile of the subject and also to support other teachers. It's not easy being a second language teacher, instructor in a English speaking setting. But what we do need to do is we do need to make space for all of the languages that our learners bring with them in our classrooms. But I think, as you say, Tracy, across the school, across the networks, across the trust, across any sort of network that we can kind of wriggle into, really, and just keep putting languages at the top of people's agenda. You mentioned their action research. That was something that I hadn't mentioned in the introduction, but another exciting dimension to this work is that we have a team of researchers who will be looking to go into schools to explore with our teachers what is working, how and why. And again, in terms of sustainability, being able to capture that and then to share it more widely. And again, working with partners such as ALL to just sort of share our findings, I think. And linguists are fantastic communicators, fantastic sharers. And that's what this is really all about, coming together, asking really pertinent questions, trying to find answers, and trying really, as you say, to empower others to do great things. There's one question I think has just come in, an email to ask more specific questions. Tracy is typing there. I can add.
Now disappeared. I think the answer has come up on the screen. It's disappeared off my screen, but I think it's there.
Add a couple of things. Thank you very much. I'm glad it's inspiring. Thank you that you felt inspired. We want to show you, on the Languages PGCE at UCL, we've had a link with the British Film Institute for many, many years. And my colleague Judith Rifficer, who I know is here today, is also passionate about film as a kind of cultural tool and language teaching tool. And so when we were working with the students on the PGCE last summer, one of them presented this film with a range of lessons to use. So shall we conclude, Tracy, by trying to inspire people once and for all? Now, at the bottom of the PowerPoint, if you get your hands on that, we've got it in English. We've got it in French with English subtitles, and we've got it in French with no subtitles. So what we'd like you to do is watch it, feel inspired, think about how it informs our vision, and perhaps take it forward and use it yourself in classrooms. Okay, thank you, Tracy.
Une idée peut trouver sa source dans une infime étincelle d'inspiration. Bien sûr, il faut du temps et du travail pour qu'une idée se réalise. Elle s'affine, se modèle, se façonne et grandit. Puis, dans un élan, elle déploie ses ailes. Elle se laisse porter par les vents du progrès.
Oh, sorry.
Elle traverse alors les régions, les frontières. L'idée voyage d'un esprit à l'autre, d'une main à l'autre. Elle inspire et se nourrit de nouvelles collaborations. Dans un souffle, l'idée prend vie et s'envole. Pour s'élever bien au-delà de toute prévision. Bien au-delà du rêve de ses créateurs. Nous nous rassemblons autour des idées. Ensemble, nous faisons en sorte qu'elles se réalisent. Ensemble, nous sommes les acteurs du changement.
There we are. Thank you very much, everybody. I can see a couple more up. I'm glad someone has enjoyed the film. Wonderful. Please take that forward. Do think about film to inspire those learners. But what's really, really important, I think, is that teachers are working together to inspire one another. And that does feel very empowering, I think. And I just love, as I say, I see myself as the person in the window that let go that very small bird, and Tracy has already sent something back that's even bigger and better than we could have imagined. And then once that goes out into the hubs, goes national, another 10 more coming in. It's really exciting. So there we go. Any final comments or questions? We're finishing a little bit early.
There was one more question, which is how I managed to pause the video because I was trying to type the answer, but I broke it. So the question, Caroline, and I think you're probably best to answer this. How would be the best way to get involved to collaborate? This person isn't a teacher anymore, but works in an organisation providing teacher CPD and resources, and they want to get involved because they feel so passionately. What would your advice be, Caroline?
I think go to the NCLE webpage, the IOE NCLE webpage, and join the mailing list. Let us know who you are. We're collecting offers like this. As we said earlier, we really want to work with stakeholders out there to support our teachers, and have had lots of very generous offers, which our specialist teachers have already made a note of. Let me just get that for you. Let's have a look.
Caroline, is it the link Judith put in earlier, the same one?
Has she? Did she pop that in? Okay.
I'm just bringing it down.
Copy. I've got it here as well. Let's have a look. It's when you get your hands on the PowerPoint, it's at the top as well. That's it. So join that one there, and join the mailing list. You'll get the news updates. We'll keep you posted. We've also got, actually, that we're about to launch synchronous webinars. So keep an eye out for those. We've got one on the 30th of November as a early evening webinar. So join the mailing list and you'll hear more about that. On that one, we'll be thinking about principled practice and learning from what works. And another before Christmas looking at multilingualism and home heritage community languages. So we're trying all sorts of different ways to work with our schools, who are then sharing, and they're sharing in different ways. So they're sharing and supporting their immediate partners, but then they're taking their work out to their already existing networks and bringing new schools in to find out more. So if you go to NCLE and you look at the map and see that there's a local hub on your patch, again, drop a note to the NCLE mailbox and we can put you in touch with your hub. Once the website's launched early December, you will have all of those contact details. But certainly you can come through at national level, or quite soon you'll be getting the details of who to contact where, so that you can make links on your home patch. And the other thing, of course, to say is that teachers can support in all sorts of ways. So if you are a speaker of another language and would be interested in supporting schools with their speaking examinations, that's one of the biggest hurdles. So teachers who are part-time, have gone into retirement, who would want to be trained to run speaking tests in a range of different languages, that's just the sort of resource that schools will be looking to find. So that's an exciting dimension. We even adults just don't think about the skills that they have. We take these things so much for granted.
Sorry, Caroline, there's just one more question, and I don't know the answer. Anita is asking, how do we get hold of the PowerPoint for this presentation? Is that something that is made available through the Language Through website?
Yes, I believe it is, Anita. I will check. Jonathan, who hosts this, I believe makes the PowerPoints and resources available to everybody who has come along, but I'll check and find out for you. You can also contact us if you want to through that NCLE webpage and mailbox. That's the way to do it. Well, thank you, everybody, very much indeed. If we end now, is there any last question that anybody had? Thank you very much, everyone, for your time, attention and support today. If you're here from another country, another organization, perhaps ask your powers that be if a hub project like this might work in your country. The film is this one is a French film. I don't know if German subtitles might be available, but this was from Luxembourg. So thank you, Charlie. Nice to see you. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you very much. Nice to see old friends and to make so many new ones. Thank you very much. Merci, au revoir, danke, auf Wiedersehen, Zaijian. Tschüss, bis bald, adios, ciao. Thank you. Okay, shall I press leave?
I think so.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you,
support,
everyone.
Tracy.
Bye-bye.
Nice to see you. Have a nice weekend. Have a nice weekend, everybody. Thank you.